Okay, gang, really quick before we jump into the video. You may or may not know that I left academia a few years back for broadcasting, but teaching the next generation has and always will be on my heart. I've been broadcasting now through 3 election cycles, and I'm just sick at what the elites have done to our education system. So I decided to step up. My team and I have been working on this for well over a year now. I started a school, and I have absolutely massive plans to take it nationwide. The Worldview Institute of Entrepreneurship and Apprenticeship opens its first location in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on April 9th, and I want to invite you to the ribbon cutting. And I've built a whole amazing event around it, so I want you to come and join me at the Kingdom Builders Experience, April 9th through 11th. You'll get an exclusive invite to the school's ribbon cutting. You'll be invited to a special Scotch and Cigars meetup with yours truly. I'll be lecturing at the school, plus we're hosting a Business Makers Summit where education meets opportunity. Now, seats are limited. Click the link below to learn more, and I can't wait to see you there. Turkey is in crisis. With a collapsing economy, a worthless lira, and rising inflation, President Erdogan has just poured gasoline on what was already a political fire. You are not going to believe the events unfolding in Turkey and what they may mean for the world order as we know it. The nation of Turkey has long been heralded by Western elites as the ideal example of political secularization. Kemalism, which constituted the secular reforms imposed by Turkey's original leader, Kemal Atatürk, involved such extremes as introducing a Latin-based alphabet, which cut Turks off from their Arabic literary traditions, as well as actually banning traditional forms of Islamic attire. And yet, such Western secularization efforts never quite took root in much of Turkish culture. One writer, in fact, put it this way: modern Turkey is a strange amalgam of Western structures underpinned by Ottoman habits. Well, eventually, given the civilizationalist turn happening all over the world over the last few decades, those Ottoman habits would inevitably resurface. Enter Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Now, for 20 years, Erdogan and his party, the AKP, have oriented Turkey to becoming an Islamist state, in many respects a neo-Ottoman empire. So, for example, much of the national educational system has been Islamized. Education prior to Erdogan tended to downplay the Ottoman Empire and cultured students to think of Western secularism as progressive and enlightened. But now the Ottoman Empire is being taught as an ideal society filled with enriching Islamic culture that is itself the wave of the future. And that's because Erdogan appears very interested in transforming Turkey more into a neo-Anatolian federation of Muslim ethnicities rather than a secular democratic republic of Turkish citizens. And some have argued that transformation may even at some point involve a revived caliphate. Unfortunately for Erdogan, the Turkish economy is collapsing, and Erdogan has yet to find a solution to Turkey's financial woes. Now, this has led to the rise of Ekrem İmamoğlu, the popular mayor of Istanbul, who presents himself as a viable alternative to Erdogan and promises to fix the economy once and for all. His popularity, as you can imagine, has increased dramatically. All the latest polls show it. But then, on March 19th, this popular Istanbul mayor and chief Erdogan rival was arrested by Turkish police on suspicion of corruption, extortion, bribery, money laundering, and supporting terrorism, particularly the PKK, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, a Kurdish militant political organization in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. Now, suspiciously, the day before his arrest, Istanbul University actually revoked İmamoğlu's degree, which disqualified him from entering the presidential race. The next day, then, he and members of his party are arrested. But none of that compares to what happened next. President Trump just signed an executive order outlining his plans to create America's first national sovereign wealth fund, and it'll need to be filled up with assets fast. Trump wants a go-live plan in the next 90 days. The Wall Street types are trying to pack it with real estate, infrastructure, and pieces of trendy companies like TikTok. But let's not forget about gold. Sovereign wealth funds love to buy gold in bulk. Australia's been loading up. Saudi Arabia's been buying the world's largest gold mine to supply itself. And even tiny Singapore recently added more than 100 metric tons of gold to its vaults. Can you imagine what could happen to the per ounce price of gold, which has already been surging sky high since Trump took office, if America's new sovereign wealth fund followed international best practices and made gold a part of its diversified portfolio? It would potentially make our country a brand new mega buyer in an already tight market. And when there's limited supply and huge demand, the impact on prices, well, let's just say you'll want to be ready. Now, there's a simple way to get ready, too. It's all laid out for you in the free gold report from my partners at turleytalkslikesgold.com. You want to request your copy right away. After all, President Trump has put the world on notice. A new sovereign wealth fund for America may be coming, perhaps in as little as the next 90 days. So take advantage of the time you've got right now to prepare. Get your free gold report now at turleytalkslikesgold.com. Now, this is only one part of a major crackdown on political opposition all across the country by President Erdogan. And what we appear to be seeing here is nothing less than Erdogan's last-ditch attempt to try to stay in power. And it doesn't quite look like it's paying off. Crowds of hundreds of thousands in Istanbul and millions across the country are protesting Erdogan's decision and only boosting the public's opinion of İmamoğlu and pushing the narrative that Erdogan is nothing more than an authoritarian thug. Now, oddly enough, what's happening to İmamoğlu is exactly how Erdogan originally came to power. Erdogan started off as mayor of Istanbul, and he rose in popularity after he was arrested, again with dubious charges, by the party that was then in power, who felt threatened by his rise. How history repeats itself. So what now? Well, judging by the size of the protests, Erdogan appears to have made a very grave political miscalculation. Arresting your chief opposition is not going to help when you failed to fix the economy and have, for many, only made it worse. The people want an alternative. Arresting that alternative will only make him stronger, similar to what happened with President Trump. Now, geopolitically, the ramifications for this instability in Turkey are very significant. Erdogan's Islamic turn has more aligned Turkey with neo-Orthodox Russia as over and against the secular West. And yet, Erdogan, being a member of NATO, he's long enjoyed playing both East and West against each other, with Turkey, or better, himself being the chief beneficiary. What's happening is that this alternative party and the rise of a viable alternative in the form of Mayor İmamoğlu would mean that if they did come to power, that balancing act would tilt decisively towards the West. Turkey would increasingly turn away from Russia, away from Iran, away from China, and look to stronger ties and relations with Europe and the EU. And given Erdogan's current political instability, it does look as if the West is not going to miss this opportunity to finally try to get rid of him. At the same time, Erdogan may have burned his last bridge with Russia and Iran, precisely because they were strong supporters of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, while Turkey did everything they possibly could to get rid of him. And so Erdogan appears to have increasingly isolated himself. He's left himself with, frankly, no allies to help him escape this political unrest. So Turkey might quickly turn away from its Islamist path and instead realign itself with the collective West. We'll have to see. Regardless, it looks as if Erdogan's penchant for playing both sides, East versus West, has only served to cut himself off from both. The future of Erdogan's regime certainly looks grim. Hey there, Turley Talker. You know what? I'd love to hear from you. That's why I'm launching the Dr. Steve Hotline, where you can call in, leave a question, and maybe even hear your own voice featured on an upcoming episode of the show. Whether it's about the latest political shakeup or cultural trends or how we keep pushing forward in this new conservative age, I want to know what's on your mind. Call me at 717-844-5984. Just leave your question. I'll be checking in every single week to answer as many as I can. Again, that's 717-844-5984. Your chance to be a part of the conversation. One more time, 717-844-5984. Give me a call and let's talk.